Hilary Kennedy joins us from 4 Minute Buzz, and you are being, I guess, propositioned by somebody in the Biden super PAC. Right?
Recruited.
I got an email last week, and there is a PR firm that is looking for influencers who are active on social media. They're paying them to post pro-Biden stories about how Biden is making life better for you and your family. I don't think they realized I wasn't really their target demo, but
Right.
Wow. So they're
funny.
so desperate. They're just sending out this alert and this offer to all influencers.
they made sure to bold the word paid several times in the email that I got. And they want you to post how Biden has been helping your family or the things you're most excited about the administration is doing. And they went so far as to say, Biden is trying to give us all back our freedom, giving us the freedom we need to care for ourselves and our families.
Did you take him up on that offer?
I did not.
Okay.
I love this line. This is a paid social media partnership opportunity with payments based on follower accounts starting at $100. Wow.
So they went on to
what a generous offer.
And they're really focusing on several key states. They said they're looking for influencers in key states. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, New Hampshire. Trying to remember what they all Pennsylvania. Yeah. So very interesting.
Georgia, Florida. Yeah. Huh. What do those states have in common? Wisconsin.
Arizona.
Battleground state.
Very interesting. So I think they're trying to help combat the Let's Go Brandon fiasco they've had going on. So
No question. And the 36% approval rating that he has right now.
Yep.
Which is really low. Also, you've been following the Epstein trial. It's actually not Epstein because obviously he's gone and moved on, and it would be kind of silly to prosecute him at this point. But Giselle...
Ghislaine Maxwell. Yes.
Ghislaine, whatever her name is.
I can never
It's
remember her
weird
name.
that this isn't getting more. I mean, it's being covered, but not in the same way that, say, like the Rittenhouse trial or the Aubrey trial.
That's because we have a variant that we need to distract people with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like this trial is so fascinating, though, because things are coming out that just a little weird. I think we all know that Epstein was involved in some things that were unsavory, and they're really trying to frame Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein as these sick pedophiles that were running this sex trafficking ring. But in my opinion, and the opinion of many people, it was really more about being able to blackmail and coerce other key figures and decision makers from around the world, because there were so many big names that were involved in this, and we don't even know half of them. But his pilot, his longtime pilot, Epstein's pilot, this guy's name is Larry Visosky. He flew over 1,000 flights for Epstein from 1991 to 2019. He took the stand this week. He said, I never saw anything. I never saw anything unsavory going on the planes.
Oh, well, then case closed. We're done.
He said all the girls that he met looked to be of age. They were obviously mature women. He said the only time he ever saw a minor on the plane, that the minor was accompanied by a parent. So
So
he said everything was above board.
So we're done.
But what's interesting about pilot Visosky is his daughters, their private school education, their university education, all paid for by Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Also was gifted 40 acres of the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico that Epstein owned. And the pilot Larry built a house out there on that 40 acres. His daughter got married out there. And when he was asked about this in 2019 in a deposition, they said, so you were gifted this land from Epstein? And he said, well, no, I paid for it. And they were like, well, do you remember how much you paid for it? And he said, I don't really remember. And they said, well, it couldn't have been very substantial. And he said, well, it was probably about $5.
$5 for 40 acres.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
I paid for it.
Yeah, just so I could make it official down at the courtforce on the deed.
But this man, the pilot did identify several people, well-known people that flew on Epstein. He confirmed Prince Andrew, former astronaut and Senator John Glenn, actors Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker,
Glenn?
Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump.
Wow.
So it was very interesting. They've also had one of the first accusers on the stand this week, and she did acknowledge that she was taken by Epstein to Mar-a-Lago. She met Donald Trump when she was 14. However, she said she was never pressured to do anything with any of Epstein's friends, that nothing transpired between her and
And she
Donald
didn't even
Trump.
allege anything happened with
No,
Trump.
she said absolutely nothing happened. So it's been interesting. The articles I've been reading, they're trying to frame it as if like, oh, Donald Trump was, deeply involved. Of course. But she
Every
got on the
headline
stand and said
tries
no.
to lead you down that path.
Yes, interesting that they leave Bill Clinton out of a
Yeah,
lot
they don't
of
say
this.
former presidents implicated.
Correct. But there's been two accusers now, that Virginia Giuffre, she's not part of this trial, but she's given a lot of statements about this. And she said every time that she never saw Donald Trump involved with any of the girls that Epstein was spending time with. So,
or that he even had knowledge of what Epstein was doing on the side.
But this pilot who says, I had no knowledge of this, he had a very active Instagram account until 2019 when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. His Instagram handle was Captain Big Dog. And Captain Big Dog was posting a lot of photos of the insides of these planes. He was posting captions with himself in Paris under the Eiffel Tower. And these all coincided with trips that he was on with Epstein, apparently. So he had some pictures of himself on that little St. James Island that Jeffrey Epstein owned. It's just a little far-fetched to believe that this man didn't know anything. I guess anything's possible,
Captain Big
but...
Dog? You're talking about Captain Big Dog.
Captain Big Dog, Larry Visofsky.
And how does Ghislaine fit into all of this? What does this mean for her?
So it's interesting because the pilot said he knew them to have less of a business relationship and more like they were a couple, not a romantic couple, but just best friends, kind of partner in crime relationship dynamic. But they did date at
Literally
one point.
partners in crime.
Absolutely. So they dated, they broke up, they remained very close. And so she is accused of helping kind of recruit these girls. She was the one that would bring them in, make them feel comfortable that another woman is present in the room with Jeffrey Epstein, and then eventually
Just evil.
train them to do what he wants them to do.
Evil. Yeah. Unbelievable.
So she's facing 6 counts. The trial's supposed to take about 6 weeks, and she could spend up to 80 years in prison.
So I have 2 questions for you. Number one, I've thought that, and I'm sure people that pay closer attention to this trial than I do, I just always felt that Jeffrey Epstein was probably working for someone over him that was basically recruiting him to recruit these girls to entrap these world leaders to get their way and whatever policy or direction they want the world to shift. Have you heard anything like that? Or
there's a ton of theories out there about this, and I do agree that most people think it wasn't just Epstein acting as a mastermind.
Yeah.
There's definitely a bigger framework here.
Oh, yeah.
So when they raided his apartment back in 2019 and arrested him, there was a safe in plain sight in his
this
home.
was my second question. Perfect.
And they found just scores of photos of underage girls, naked or partially naked. But they also found a stack of CDs, handwritten labels on the CDs that said like young girl, let's say Jane, young Jane, plus name of
Celebrity.
other person.
Like celebrity.
So, some other adult. Now, we don't know who these adults were, if they were...
And we don't know whose names are on... will that come out at any point, you think?
That's what I'm so confused about. Because, again, they found this back in 2019. I haven't seen any journalism being done on that particular instance with these CDs. I haven't seen anybody researching whose names are on these. I haven't seen the Justice Department, the FBI, anybody talking about this. So,
and can you imagine whose names are on there? You got to believe.
So I wonder
Prince Andrew.
Yes.
Bill Clinton.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
The names that we've heard.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have confirmed Prince Andrew being involved. A lot of the girls have, and there's photo evidence of him at least hanging out with Ghislaine Maxwell.
If I'm Prince Andrew, I'm like, can we focus on somebody else? I mean, look at all the other people that are in the picture. I mean, let's talk about that. Come on.
Right.
Because it seems like they just keep deferring to him when there are so many more names that we'll probably never hear.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm hopeful that maybe the FBI hasn't said anything about these CDs or who's on these CDs because they're doing investigations in the background.
And the FBI, they're so good at this stuff. You know that they're going to crack it.
You can trust them.
Why don't
you trust the FBI?
Love the FBI.
I wouldn't be counting on that happening, but yeah, very interesting. So I think there's a lot of powerful people involved, as we knew, but it will be fascinating following this trial if any other names
keep
come
us
out.
updated if you hear something big or what have you.
I will.
Thanks, Hilary. Appreciate it. We'll be watching for you on the 4-Minute Buzz coming up in moments.
Yeah.